Awesome. Welcome to a case study that we're going to be doing with one of our amazing clients, Steve Solecki out of Wilmington, North Carolina, who runs Conquer Movement, a cash-based physical therapy practice. Steven, thanks so much for being willing to do this case study. I'd love to just start with, do you want to give people just a little bit of background about your business model type, kind of the services you provide and who you guys work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, we're a cash-based physical therapy provider. We're in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we specialize in working with the everyday athlete. Um, People in like our age group who are looking to work out, 3 to 5 times a week and really focusing on that longevity side of life. So we help them get out of pain as our like initial service and offering, and then stay out of pain from there and really just maintain every piece of their life from an activity standpoint that's important to them.
Yeah, you guys do a great job at that, and you guys have built an incredible like community vibe as well of really helping out the people in Wilmington. And obviously, Alex and I come from the physical therapy world, so it's always great when we get to work with another PT clinic. Steve, I was going to ask, I don't know, do you remember how you first found out about us? I don't remember if it was online via ads or if somebody had recommended us.
It was kind of like the full circle moment. One of the PTs down here, I think, was familiar with Alex through school somehow. And then I have seen you a bunch with your work in ads before. So I've seen your ads through that. And then I ended up coming across the ads for the CEO Finance Academy. And that's when I was finally like, all right, I've seen enough of these guys. Let's let's dive in and work together.
Awesome. Well, Steve, I guess talk to me through kind of what, because there's a lot of different aspects of business that dealing with. But obviously, the finances spoke enough to you. I guess talk to me before we start working together. What were kind of some of the, um, things that you were either facing or struggling with, or I guess ultimately what was painful enough that said, hey, I want to kind of get some help with it.
Yeah. The business was, we just turned like around 4 years. We're heading into our fifth year now when I had started reaching out to you guys. And I feel like I had been in that constant growth phase where it's like, all right, everything goes back into the business, everything goes back in. Let's hire, let's build, let's get the location, all the fun stuff. Um, but then it got to the point where I'm like, I also would like to start taking some profit out of this business so that all of the hard work feels like it's worth it, right? Right. So I sat down to like look at like, all right, cool. How much can I start paying myself? How much profit do we actually have? How do I plan for the next stages? And that's when I kind of felt like exposed. I'm like, oh man, I don't really know how to answer any of these questions. And I know we have money in accounts, but I had no predictability, no clear understanding of how much of that money I could utilize, and a lot of fear behind touching that money because of my lack of understanding. Um, so that's where I was like, all right, I can't keep doing this kind of shooting from the hip, if you will.
Yeah.
I want to get some clarity on how I can work this going forward.
Yeah, I think as you're saying that, one of the things we just see so often is people and we've been guilty of this in our own business, which is like we can just scale our way out of feeling like I don't understand the finances. And eventually if I just make $1 million more in revenue, my problems go away. And you kind of like, well, I was at 100K and it was this is how I felt. Now we're at 200K. I still feel this way. Now you guys were getting, crossing close to 500,000. It's like, okay, the revenue continues to grow, but I'm not feeling any different about this. And so it's just such a common feeling. It's just like I'll just get to the next revenue mark, and then things will change, which is kind of what opens us up to understanding cash flow and learning about how cash flow works and all that kind of stuff. Steve, when you jumped in with us, I'm super curious. What were kind of some of the first just like takeaways for you as we are getting rolling into this in terms of sort of either things that you didn't expect or were just kind of eye-opening that yeah, kind of gave you some insight into the business?
I think a couple of things that really stand out were I am not a systems guy and I'm trying to become a systems guy. And but I also am very, very coachable. Like I like to, hey Steve, if you want to achieve this, do these things in this order. Um, so when I had met with being onboarded and then had our first meeting, I started diving into your school group. I was like, oh, this is great. Like there's a step by step, like watch this, review your own books in this fashion, fill in these sheets, and then we have what we need for the next step. And it just kept building on it. Um, so I'm a nerd when it comes to that. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it early on. Like, oh, this I can see where this dashboard is going, and I see how I can get trends and data. So I was excited to have like a system where, all right, every Friday I go in, I do my wealth waterfall. Every end of the week, I do this. Every quarter, I'm updating my gross margins and my P&L. So that was something that early on, like I was like, this is exciting.
Yeah, I think I still remember actually going back and talking with Kevin, your coach at the time, still coach, and him just going, "Wow, Steve, love the wealth waterfall process," and just talk us through. So I think one of the things we get from people is like, well, you guys talk about a system, but like, how does that work for you in the sense of, I guess, so just talk us through from a client perspective. Like, what does that look like in terms of, we call it a wealth waterfall process, just sort of a way that we organize extra cash or excess cash at the end of the month. What was life like before using a system like that? And then kind of how's it maybe changed since implementing a system like that?
Yeah, and truthfully, for me, the end of the month was a big stressor because I'm like, all right, if we had this number of clients, we could make this much revenue. I don't know when reimbursements are coming out. Like I wasn't preparing for next month's expenses, and it felt very chaotic and stressful. And
Yeah.
then I'd make decisions and then go from there and be like, all right, living on a hope and a prayer, fingers crossed. Let's hope we have enough to like cover everything we need. So now at the end of the month, it's very easy to go, okay, I'm covering the first payroll. Rent is being saved from the month prior. I'm taking an owner's draw of this amount, and then I'm paying off this much credit, and that leaves us with this much profit to go to taxes, to go to future spending. Um, and I don't have to stress anymore because the numbers can't lie, and they're either there or they aren't. Um, and honestly, sometimes the numbers, it's business. So you look at it, you're like, man, I don't have enough. I'm not paying this much into my credit card, or I'm not taking that owner's draw.
Yeah.
But for me, it's nice to even know, like, okay, I'm not taking it for this reason. And it actually started helping me identify other weaknesses within the business of, well, if I increase my marketing, I can increase this bottom line, which then means my wealth waterfall will allow me the goals of paying myself more or having more saved up. So it kind of led me down that rabbit hole too.
Yeah. I just kind of having sat in on quite a few of the calls too, of just sort of seeing your what we call like the sort of second order consequences too of like, well, if I do pull from X account to pay for this, that satisfies my immediate need for feeling like, let's just say, you're paying off some credit card debt or something. And it's like, okay, well, if we do that though, what's the second order consequence of that? Does that mean next month we're putting ourselves in a deeper hole of this, right? And starting to see you go through and go, okay, all right, even if that's the choice I have to make and that's the choice that is the best decision, I'm at least aware of like, what does that set me up for the next 30 days, 60 days, and it hopefully starts to build in that being proactive versus reactive all the time. And yes, you're right. There's like we see it all the time. We live it too. There are times where you have to be reactive, but it's about seeing, hey, what is the consequence of this reactive decision that I can then go, okay, can I live with that? Can I not live with that? And to watch you transform in that matter has been really cool to just see you go, okay, um, you know, can I make that higher? Ooh, let's talk through that. What's the timeline of that versus just like I need a body. And it's like, I know we need a body, but hey, what's the long-term sort of consequence of that? What's the short-term hit that we're going to take, and what's the long-term hit on that? Um, Steve, I guess I would love to just get your insight on what's the coaching experience been like. So obviously you're partnered with a profit coach. It's someone who's essentially been a CFO or fractional CFO. What's that kind of relationship been like? What's just Was there any hesitation going into that? You hadn't met this person before. Just kind of curious your experience getting on the coaching side.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's been fantastic. Working with Kevin has been huge. It's really nice to have that unbiased partner, um, that with his experience, and it's just like, hey, Steve, like this is what it is, and it was like, yeah, but I feel this. And
Yeah.
Kevin was always good of like, that's great. I'm sorry you're feeling that, or cool that you're feeling like you guys are crushing it. Let's go back to the numbers. Let's reverse engineer this. I understand you're feeling like you can take this because you guys crushed it this month, but the numbers show this. And for me, that was huge because I don't know about your experience as a business owner, but it's an emotional ride with a lot of feelings. So to have
Yeah.
that unbiased party just tell you like, yeah, this is what it is. Yes, you're feeling like you need to hire, but let's look at this. Yes, you're
Yeah.
feeling like you deserve an owner's draw of this amount, but let's look at the trend and let's look at the months that are coming up. And so it's really nice to have an accountability partner,
Yeah.
um, and have an understanding of like what each session was going to be covering as well. Like, hey, the
Good.
next time we meet, you're going to do a little bit of homework here, or I'll walk you through this. So I enjoyed that piece of it. And to answer your other question, like, yeah, I think there's always some hesitation when you're working with someone, even us as PTs, like hey, I think I can help you. Um, and then it's our job to earn that trust. And I feel like within the first visit, like talking with you, with Kevin, I'm like, okay, I'm in the right place. These guys want what's best for me. They're asking the questions to understand where I'm at, what my goals are. And I see a clear plan of how we're going to get there, which is
Yeah.
huge.
Well, I'm grateful that you felt that way. And one thing that comes up, is, well, hey, does this person have my specific industry experience? And, your coach in this case hasn't run a cash physical therapy practice before. Do you feel like that you still got everything you needed in the sense of this person being able to guide you through the financial side of things? Obviously, they're not going to come coach you on here's the how to sell your treatment packages better, but on that aspect, I think that's something people come to us and are like, do they have that experience? Did that seem to be, and you can be honest, I don't know, did that affect anything at all?
No, I don't think it affected anything because again, working with Kevin was just all right, like give me an understanding. What are your services? Um, what are your average cost per visits? What are your recurring revenue? And, if I had the information, great. If I didn't have it, we would work through it together. Like, all right, hey, this is important to be tracking so that I can help you in this. And
Yeah.
so it felt very like business agnostic, I think is the term. Like it didn't feel like
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was lacking anything because Kevin wasn't a PT.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing is like we always tell people, but finances are kind of like, it's math, right? It's like you can algebra as math, physical therapy as math. It's math at the end of the day. Can you do math and can you understand the components of math? And obviously understanding business as well. But Steve, I guess one of the things, so people always say, it's a relatively sizable investment for a lot of people to join a program like this. And I think one of the things is we're not really an ROI based company in the sense of like we can guarantee you're going to get this much return on investment. So one of the things I like to look at is if you hadn't gone through this and you hadn't kind of gotten to where you're at now in terms of systems and understanding finances, where do you think you'd be now or what would be kind of the situation you'd be in if you really hadn't put in the time to figure this piece out?
I mean, for me, it's an ROI of peace and mental clarity, if you will.
Yeah.
Because it was just getting to that point where you're like, all right, we're 4 years in, we can only hustle so much. I can only ask my wife, like, hang on 6 more months. I think I'll be able to pay myself this. All your support is going to pay off for us. I promise. If maybe potentially, right?
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it was like a peace thing of like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm learning this. The education is priceless. And then to actually look and be like, oh, now that I'm more aware and in this, my gross margins are improving, and I'm paying attention more to a P&L and the balance sheet, and I'm making consistent savings and draws. Like the end of this year, I'm going to be able to take a sizable owner's draw as a result of the steps that I took with you guys. Um, so, that's where the investment comes for me. And then I just don't feel stressed when it comes to the finances, and understanding growth and what we can do within the company, which is a big thing for me.
Yeah. I just having sat in on quite a few of the calls too, I think from the outside perspective too, being able to look in and say, I think there's some things that have been really powerful. One, we've really been able to look in and go, now that we're really clear on the margins of each service line that we're offering, is it time that we make a pricing change? And what that even small pricing change could do in terms of to the bottom line of the business. And so rather than like, I don't know if I should raise my prices, it's like, hey, it's really clear $5 per visit, what that's going to do to your bottom line. If we do that across the total number of sessions that you see in a year, like let's do that math and being able to see like with confidence going, oh, well, I think so often it's just like, I'll just raise my prices to meet inflation. And I think a lot of us, especially people in healthcare, are like, I feel bad. I don't want to raise my prices. And when we're able to see like, hey, like this is really what it's going to do for you and in your business, and be able to not only with that, but the other thing that it led to was we went through a time where you're hiring, and rather than kind of going, I don't know what I can pay this person, I'm gonna see what I can do. What are other people paying? We were able to actually like go through the numbers together, look at and say, hey, here's what you really can afford, right? And then reverse engineering. And I'm just kind of curious on that part with you. How did it feel having someone in your corner to talk through a compensation structure with? Because I just know from my side, being a business owner, the first time we made a few hires, being like, just kind of looking at what everybody else pays people for this, and I don't know, like what can I do? And we weren't even going into like, well, what's the runway here before they're profitable? Should we do a stair step kind of performance based thing? I want to get in kind of your words. What was it like just having someone in your corner to talk through that sort of compensation structure side of things?
Yeah, it was huge. I think I was in a position where I'm like, all right, we're losing a PT that has a full schedule. We need to get someone ASAP. I remember like emailing the putting the bat signal out there for Kevin and even you, and I was like,
Yeah.
somebody help. I gotta give this guy an answer. I got, um, and again, maybe this is just me, but it's one of those emotional drivers where you start having thoughts of, well, I'm trying to pay myself more, have more margin. If I just jump in the business, I'm my cheapest asset. So that could be an easy win. And then Kevin's like, all right, well, let's do the numbers. If you stay in the business and we plateau at this because marketing goes down and this goes down and that goes down, here's what you get. If you onboard someone and then look at the data over the last 4 years in business, look at your patients, look at the cost per visit, all the things that you guys helped me gather, your profit margins, we got to get this guy within 6 weeks to seeing 15 visits for this to make sense. And then from this point on, here's what he brings in. And then you
Mm.
compare what I would have brought in, taking the easier way or what I felt was the safer way, to what he brings in, and it's a no-brainer. Like, oh, we're hiring. Like, there's no question. And here's what I can confidently offer this guy, and here's how we can tailor him up to really show him that we value him. So it just felt seamless, and again, it removes the emotion. Math is math, and you can't argue with the numbers.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to sit down and do this case study. And it's just been such a pleasure, man, getting to work with you and watch your business grow. And I always, we're always honest with clients too. Like if you're in business, it's not a straight shot to the moon, right? Like we've been able to see how things go in terms of growth, but then also life happens. Team members have to leave for one reason or another, and then all of a sudden, we've got to readjust. And so it's just been cool to see you and your journey as well of navigating all of that, of being a business owner. And I guess the last thing I'll just ask Steve is, have someone sitting there going like, I guess knowing what you know now, knowing what the investment was to jump in with us, would you do it again and why?
Yeah, 100% without any question. I do it again, and I wish I would have done it like early on, and that's with minimal like revenue coming in because I feel like it would have set me up for success to grow through the stages that I was that much more.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reality of it is like, in our world, it's like, oh, PTs need PT, coaches need coaches, right? Like
Yeah.
we can't do it all. And the path to growth is to find out who, right, can help us do it. And you guys are the experts in this. And um, yeah, for someone who is on the fence, it's like if you show up, you do the homework before, you watch the modules, you take the time to do the things that you're being walked through, you can't help but find the ROI or the success.
Yeah.
Um, and even if that means it just highlights areas in your business that, oh shoot, I need to dial this in so that I see a better return here. Um, it's still beneficial, in my opinion.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much, Steve. If anyone, if you're watching this and you happen to be in the Wilmington area or know someone is and needs physical therapy services, can't recommend Conquer Movement enough with Steve and his team. So, Steve, thank you so much. And guys, we'll catch you on the next case study.